This Super Bowl preview edition of the S.O.S podcast network, the football show brought to you by the one, the only First Round Collectibles. Right now with promo code SPORTS10, you get 10% off every card in the First Round Collectibles store, including an additional 10% on a 25% off sale right now on WWE and WWF cards. That is right. Let me just start all of that over so we get a crystal clear picture of what I'm talking about right now. First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTS10, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They also have a sale right now. WWE, WWF cards, 25% off with our promo code SPORTS10. You get an additional 10% off that sale. So go to firstruncollectibles.com right now today. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order and an extra 10% off the 25% off a wrestling card sale. Firstruncollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10, and Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Right now, baseball's right around the corner. The hockey world taking a little break for the Olympics. Basketball trade deadline, and of course the Super Bowl. There's so much sports to talk about, and TotalApexSports.com has you covered. All right, now here we go on to the show. Welcome to the Super Bowl preview edition of the NFL show on the S.O.S podcast network. I am Mark Sauter. He is Java Joe, and it is good. Whoa, there's the light. And it is good to be back. A couple weeks off. I don't know how to do ad reads anymore. I don't know how to have my lights set up anymore. It's like my first day after a long summer off. It's September 7th after Labor Day, and I completely forget what I'm doing, but it is good to be back. Hopefully everyone is having a great start to their week really, as it's already Thursday. And here we are, Joe, already set to talk about the Super Bowl. It feels like yesterday when I hit you up last summer and we were talking division previews, and now all of a sudden it's the Super Bowl. How you doing, man? Before we get into all that, how you doing?
Oh man, doing pretty good. This is always one of my favorite weeks, just because NBA and NFL just kind of have this weird now relationship to where the NFL is invading the NBA's territory as far as the Christmas Day games,
Yeah,
and the trade deadline all is now falling on Super Bowl week. So
I
like
know.
last year we got the whole Luka thing, and it's like it's very interesting. Now, I will say the NBA trade deadline didn't cook as hard as it did last season, but a lot of stuff got done this week. A lot of stuff with the press row, radio row, as they call it for the NFL. So it's been a lot of fun just watching the goings on in both leagues. But man, I can't wait till Sunday. We get one last game.
I know. And then like last Sunday, there's no football. And wrestling has like their big thing. The NHL has the big uh stadium series game. Nice, respectful. When there's
Mhm.
no football, this is how we roll. And the NBA is just like, we don't care. We're trying to steal as much of the thunder
They stole
as
Christmas. They stole Christmas.
yeah,
I mean, they
literally the
straight
Grinch.
up
Yeah,
Grinch. Straight
yeah,
up Grinch.
yeah. That's hilarious. I never thought about it like that way, but you're 100% right. Um, All right, like we said, it's great to be back. Lots going on in our personal lives over the last little bit. I have this crazy sickness that's hit my house, and I'm still battling through it. But it is good to be back talking Super Bowl. Before we do, Joe, I want to take a quick look back to the conference championships. It's been 2 weeks now. There's not really anything to say that hasn't already been said. But I do think it is important a little bit just to look back before we look forward. What were your impressions about the two conference games? I know there's been, all season long, there's been a lot of talk about the Patriots and their schedule. That's been a topic, as especially, that the Pats like stack up win, 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 and all of a sudden it's like, yo, what's up with the schedule? And in the playoffs, that kind of kept going a little bit. Of course, Bo Nix conveniently gets hurt for the Pats right before the big game. Um, to me, I got some thoughts on it, but we'll give it to you first. What were your impressions of the conference championships a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're a fan of football and you have no dog in the fight like I did, you would have wanted to see Bo Nix out there in that conference championship game, just so that both teams could be at 100% health, and then hey, let the best team win at that point. Um, but I stick to the same argument that I say all the time. You can only beat the guys in front of you. You can only beat the guys on your schedule, and they face three top defenses in this run to the Super Bowl, and they beat all three. So I mean, um, listen, we've seen this Patriots team win ugly. We've seen them win pretty. Um, they find ways to win football games. So for me, I'm not gonna crap all over their road to the Super Bowl. But I will say there's obvious areas of concern, and when we dive into the game, we'll get into more of the nitty gritty of that part of it. But um, as far as just the conference championship games, I mean, they had a heck of a time in inclement weather against Denver, and they were lucky to pull off that game. A la, them against the Raiders, several many moons ago, having the battle of the elements, and then a field goal separates both teams. So kudos to them to winning it. I think we all know that the the game of the weekend was the Rams Seahawks. I think we all knew going in that was going to
Yes.
be the game of the week, just because of the battle we've already seen between the two of them. Um, the high scoring affair that we saw during the regular season, it was the moment that everyone, even the casuals, I would say mostly the casuals, because those who have been watching football have been seeing the last couple of years and where Sam Darnold's been and his journey. I think more of the casuals got to look at Sam Darnold and be like, "Oh man, he might be a guy. He might be the dude." I think that moment they beat the Rams in the regular season was the moment where everybody kind of started clicking onto that, like, "Oh, okay, he might actually be for real. Like he might actually." So when it came to the conference championship game, a lot more people started looking at Seattle a lot differently, especially with the moves they made at the trade deadline, getting a guy like Rashid Shaheed to go opposite JSN, and he finds ways to affect the game. Right off rip, return for a touchdown. So like that to me is when you've got all aspects of your team clicking like they did, and they needed every bit of that. They needed the defense, they needed the offense, they needed the special teams. um it makes it an even more challenging affair And I'm looking forward to seeing them go up against these Patriots this week.
Yeah, and I mean, like that was it. Like for me, right, was for New England, Denver. I thought, there's been a lot of discussion about this, you know, in the week following the games. I thought that the decision from Sean Payton to go for it and not just get the 3 points.
Yeah,
I thought personally in a game like that, you have to kind of read the room and just get points when you can. I do understand kind of that if I believe at the time it was like 7-0, and so you get that touchdown, and now you like probably win the game. I get it. I think in retrospect that was the wrong decision, obviously. But I just think like Vrabel coached a really good game, and they just found a way to win the game. Yeah, man. Like for me, coming out from that weekend, there's been so much talk, and rightfully so, right? But there's been so much talk. We talked about it. How Sam Darnold, when is Sam Darnold going to revert back to the Sam Darnold that we have seen for his whole career, right? And we can talk about the situations that he's been in and the coaches he's been with, and maybe he was like more a like product of his circumstances than he was actually a bad quarterback, but
right,
nevertheless. And so last season goes 14-3 and just can't win the big games, right? And everyone wants to point the finger. That's Sam Darnold. Never mind the fact that I don't think he won double digits ever in his whole career, and all of a sudden he goes 14-3. But those two big games, that's what we're looking at. And it's the
right,
big leagues. I get it. But I don't think that was necessarily fair. Going to this season, 14-3, you get the 1 seed, and it's the same thing, right? It's if the Seahawks are going to win, it's going to be their defense, it's going to be their receivers. Oh man, Charbonnet's out, blah blah blah. Sam Darnold won that football game 2 weeks ago. And that to me and then of course you can say, well, okay, well, go do it again now. But I think that was beautiful. Like the Rams are a really, really good football team. They could easily be here this weekend.
right.
Extremely talented. And Sam Darnold found a way to score more points with what he had than the Rams did. And the Seahawks defense, they played okay. Like they played fine, but it wasn't their like best week by any means. And I just found that super impressive. Just that all the talk is about when is this guy gonna turn back into a pumpkin,
Mm.
and he came out and had the game, quite literally the game, like uh uh sorry, I'm hearing my kids screaming up there. The game of his life.
Valid. Yeah, I
Sorry, do
mean,
you have
I'll
something
say
to
it.
add?
No, I'll just to echo that, like, yeah, that's a lot of the conversation with Darnold was, is he going to turn back into the pumpkin? And I felt like this season versus last season, I think he had done enough during the regular season to warrant, hey, like this dude's for real. And for me, that was that Rams game. That Rams game was it for me, like in terms of, oh, this might be different. This year might actually be different. So kudos to him. And we'll see if he can get one more.
Yeah, so let's just dive right into it, man. Super Bowl 60, Seattle -4.5 against the Patriots. Over under is 45.5. I'll dig up all the lines and all the odds and all this kind of stuff. So full disclosure, okay? So we took the week off last week. I'm covering two teams right now. for the NHL, and a lot of moving parts, a lot of stuff going on. And so just over the last couple days, I'm actually sitting down and going through all the odds, going through all the props. And I forgot, man, like the Super Bowl prop feast is just hilarious. Like how,
Yeah. Yeah.
typically there's so many games and there's so, many things going on. You take, one prop from this game and one prop from this game, and you make a little 3-legger or 5-legger, or put 50 cents on a 12-legger, or, whatever. The Super Bowl, all of that just goes out the window, and you just bet on everything all of a sudden. All of a sudden, every
Yeah.
prop just looks like a
Amazing.
winner, and you just talk yourself, because there's one game. So you just talk yourself into all these different
Yeah.
like narratives that, like, well, if this is gonna happen, and this will happen, and then this will happen, and it's just an absolute buffet. Um, so let's get into it. Super Bowl 60. Seattle Seahawks -4.5 and -112. Patriots +4.5 is -108. On the money line, Seattle -235. Patriots +194. Over 45.5 -108. And the under is -112. And I'll be honest, like the 4.5, I can understand it. I can get behind it. I know Drake May is a little banged up, but this is the odds that came out the day the games ended, and it hasn't moved. So, how much of this line is really because of Drake May being hurt? You know what I mean? Like this, literally hasn't moved in the last 2 weeks. But that being said, the money line, like I'm a little bit surprised at how favored the Seahawks are. I know, and like +194 for the Patriots, like that, it just doesn't feel like like the money line odds. It doesn't feel like a point. Like it doesn't feel like a -4.5. You know what I mean? It's very uh the Seattle side is like very juicy. And so let's just dive into it, man. I'll just kind of sh- share my take here. I think it's a very obvious take. I think it's like low-hanging fruit. But I like think it's the right take. Um this is the Seattle defense against the Patriots offense. I think, of course, we all want to see what Sam Donald can do on the big stage. Of course, it's not, Puka and Adams, but they still have two very, very good wide receivers. Um, a quarterback who has been making good decisions for most of the season. I think the coaching staff there has just been phenomenal from top to bottom. Just a very solid, sound um, team. And you have the Patriots, where like Drake May's hurt. What does that mean? It's already out that they're shooting him up with a bunch of painkillers or whatever for him to play. His receivers aren't really there. The running backs have been good. They don't use Henderson nearly enough, in my opinion. But I mean, Stevenson's been more than uh, favorable for them this season. To me, it's just very simple. It's the Seattle defense against the Patriots offense. Then the Patriots defense, like they're no slouches. Um, I I am very curious if there's one weakness that this Seattle defense has, it's the tight ends. And with Drake May's arm not being what it needs to be, I'm really curious at how much they can expose that. If you're the Patriots and you know that that's the weakness, and you know that you might not have too many other options in the passing game, how much they can expose that. Obviously, that doesn't mean that the Seattle offense is just guaranteed, 31 points. Obviously, they have to go out there and play as well. I just think that that's the matchup right there, man. The Seattle defense versus the New England offense.
Yeah, no, I mean to piggyback back off of that, I think more specifically, it's going to be the Seattle defensive line against the Patriots offensive line. Specifically on the left side for the Patriots. That's the younger side of the offensive line. They've been a little bit suspect on the second half of the season, albeit they've done yeoman's work in getting that patched up, but having a left side of Jared Campbell and excuse me, Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, it is the definite weaker side of the line. You got veterans in Bradbury, Onwenu, and Moses on the right side, front center to the right side. So that's been the weaker side. To your point, as far as the tight ends go, I'd imagine that if I'm Josh McDaniels and I know that that's a situation, I probably would be in a lot more two tight end sets. Um, a lot of kind of like big packages where they could throw some help onto the left side, maybe chip some guys on the left side, try to slow DeMarcus Lawrence down, try to slow down Leonard Williams, and try to keep your quarterback protected. I think you'll see a lot of that. They got Westhover as the H back, the fullback, so he'll be a lead back in a lot of these situations for Travion and for Stevenson. So I'd imagine that's going to be kind of like the look that we're looking at, but that specifically is going to be, I think, the matchup to watch. Also, another matchup to watch is a play caller who has been there and done that as far as Super Bowls are concerned is Josh McDaniels
Mm-hmm.
against Mac McDonald. That's McDonald and Josh McDaniels are going to have a matchup in themselves, as far as defensive and offensive play calling, and that's going to be a matchup to watch too. The chess play that's going to go down this weekend that I'm just all for watching to see what happens. So that'll be very interesting. Those are kind of like the two matchups that I'm watching. As far as that line, though, I will say while there is injury concern, on Drake May, I mean, just recently, the Seahawks rookie, Iman Yuri has been coming up a little gimpy, walking a little gingerly. All reports are he's going to be fine to go. But he did hurt an ankle in practice, and but he was walking around no walking boot. So that's obviously promising. He'll probably get some sort of magic cortisone thing
Yeah.
to get him to make sure he makes it to Sunday. But I think both teams at this stage of the season, nobody's probably coming into this 100%. So I think it's on both sides. Nick's a key piece of that defense. He does a lot of the things that I would say like a Kyle Hamilton does for the Ravens defense. Like he's kind of like that guy who's found all over the field as far as making that defense go. So and McDonald having been a defensive coach for the Ravens, he uses him a lot similarly that he used Kyle Hamilton. So that's also a big piece on the opposite side. That's probably what's keeping the line kind of like even over the last 2 weeks. So why we haven't seen too much movement.
Yeah. I'm curious with regards to the total. I'm curious 45 and a half, which isn't super high, but it's, I don't know, high enough, I suppose. Um, there's a narrative that I've been hearing a lot of, and it's that if the Patriots win this game, it has to be low scoring. They can't make mistakes. They have to take advantage of every opportunity when they're down in the red zone. They have to convert touchdowns. It's just making it seem like if they don't play the perfect game, there's zero chance that they win this football game. And I just wonder if it's like, A, do you agree with that? And I guess, like, B, are we a not giving the Patriots enough credit, or are we giving the Seattle Seahawks just too much of the benefit of the doubt? Because to me, it's like, yeah, okay, like I like the game against the Chargers, not overly, you know, impressive. Same with the win against Houston. Definitely the win against um against Denver. Houston and Denver, both two of the best defenses in the league. Uh, the weather for the game 2 weeks ago speaks for itself. Seattle does have a top 10 defense, so they're not like slouches either. I'm just hearing a lot of this narrative that it's like the Patriots, if they don't play this like perfect game, they have no chance. And I just don't. I just wonder if what we saw from them in the is just being forgotten about too quickly.
Yeah, I'll from my standpoint, and you could check with me if you think you agree with it. This will probably be the most offensively impressive team they will have faced in the playoffs.
Oh
Chargers
yeah, for
wasn't very
sure.
dynamic because of the loss of both their tackles, so they were coming in kind of gimpy already. Amari and Hampton had just come back maybe a week or so prior. So he probably couldn't have been anywhere close to 100%. Um, and then you look at Broncos, um, you look at the Texans, who had issues offensively all season. Was basically by virtue of defense and just timely plays being made on offense that they made it as far as they did. But I say all that to say this is probably the most complete offensive team, the most explosive offensive team that they would face in the playoffs. So I can see how the narrative would take that and kind of be like, oh, if they don't pitch a shutout, if they don't pitch a perfect game, it could get out of hand. Um, for me, 44 and a half, 45 and a half, I think first to 20 wins the game. And that's just like by virtue of both their defenses being solid, but also knowing that the Seahawks have the potential to hit you in all three phases. The Patriots aren't far from that either. Listen, Travion Henderson on the kick return game in special teams has been a problem this season for teams as
Yeah.
well. So he's just as likely to kind of put one out there. Um, and so when that's the case, they both have the ability to score outside of their offense. So with that being said, I think both teams need to be solid, but also because of how I feel about their defenses and what their defenses have done in this postseason, I think we're looking at a first to 20 wins. I'm thinking, it could be a 27-17, it could be a 20-17, something in that area is what I'm thinking. And these Super Bowls notoriously start off slow and they could lull us into feeling, oh, the under is safe. We thought the under was safe last year too, and then all of a sudden, the second half, Philly beats the brakes off
Yeah.
the off the Chiefs. So, um, I just think these two defenses together are both just too solid to where I think we're somewhere. I think that number is so right, if that makes sense. Like that number is so right to me.
Yeah. No, 100%. All right, man. Well, before we get into our picks of it, I do want to get into props. However, there is a topic of conversation that I wanted to get um before we started talking about the game, and I just
Mhm.
kind of forgot about it. So I just want to circle back real quick. Both of these teams, specifically the Patriots, awful, right? Last year. I can't remember. The Seahawks, they didn't make the playoffs last year, right?
No, no, I think they were
Like 8-9 or something,
yeah,
like around there.
somewhere like very mediocre.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that genre area.
Yeah. Um Patriots awful. I think the
Right.
decision by Robert Kraft and company to move away from Jared Mayo after just one season, I think you had every excuse in the world because they wanted Gerard Mayo, like they wanted him, and they got him. And they could have very easily just said, listen, like not a good roster his first year. They could have, blamed a whole bunch of different things and just kept with it. But they made the decision to go after Mike Vrabel, and then here we are. Um, and then you have the Seahawks that had bones of a good team ish. They had some pieces, but a brand new coaching staff. Um, you know, uh, Geno Smith moves on, taking faith in this Sam Darnold guy. Don't really know what we're gonna get. Which turnaround surprises you more as we head into Super Bowl 60?
I think the Patriots turnaround for me.
Mm.
Um, for me, I think Seattle had like you said, they had like the bones of what could be a solid defense. I think they had two running backs that they know could carry an offense. Like if they were to go kind of like a caretaker route or a game manager route, um they knew, I think, inside that building that they were probably a mid elite quarterback away from probably making even more noise with the defense that they had. But with the Patriots, that was they had undergone a complete culture change to then the next season have another culture change. So that's 2 years in a row where inside the building, you're changing the culture of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of why they made the move is because, okay, rookie head coach, was he in over his head? Then Vrabel becomes an option, and then it, you know, in their brains, in the brain trust, they're like, oh man, but I mean, he's been there and done that. He's been to the AFC Championship. He's won
Plus,
Super
he
Bowl.
has a very good relationship with the organization already, right?
Right. Which a lot of the reason why they, took on Mayo in the first place was again,
Was the same thing. Yep.
same thing, only this one made a little bit more sense because he had head coaching experience before. He had been in big games both as a player and as a coach. So this felt less of a chance and more of a, like, if they would have done this 2 years ago, we would have been like, yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That completely makes sense. Like in our brains, we would have been like, okay, yeah, I mean, he was on a team and an ownership that just isn't ready to win again. It's basically like when you get rid of a coach like that and then go your next bite at the apple is a guy like Brian Callahan, and you're banking on it. Just, to me, it's didn't make sense to me in my
Yeah.
brain and how it works. You don't
Of course.
move on from a guy like Vrabel, and anyway. So Kraft said, keys to the kingdom. We can, however you want to operate the front office, however you want to collab and figure out the draft and all that kind of jazz. He basically, it's not exactly the Belichick structure, but he has considerable input just because of what he built in Tennessee. He took a team that was perennially losing and created a team that started winning again. You actually started believing again and had Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. So for me, no disrespect to Ryan Tannehill, but if you're winning games like that with Ryan Tannehill at your quarterback, and granted, he did have King Henry there too, at the same time, we're in the age of you can't win big games like this unless you have one of the big guys, your Allens, your Burrows, your Mahomes, like your Jacksons. Like you don't win without those. He was making AFC championships with Ryan Tannehill. Like
I
that's
know.
an achievement in itself. So when you think about that and you think about the $100 million they had to spend in one offseason, also keep in mind there's a team that's got somewhere around 80 or 90 coming into the offseason. I'm gonna be very interested. That's gonna be a talk for a later time. I'm gonna be very interested to see what they do with that money. Um, but I mean, when you have 100 million to spend with a guy who knows what a championship roster looks like, he's been on them, he's coached them. Not as surprised as what like Seattle's doing with them when they were like one really solid quarterback away.
I think that's so I agree with you for the most part. I think the one caveat or the one reason why I would maybe play devil's advocate is for the fact that I trust, we go all the way back to September 1st. I trust the Patriots um brand new coaching staff way more than I trust what they're doing in Seattle. And that's nothing against those guys. Obviously,
Fair.
September 1st has come and gone, and what's happened in between, they've done a tremendous job. But I'm just saying, way back then, if you're giving me one of those two coaching staffs, I'm clearly, at least for me, it's pretty clear that I'm taking the one with Vrabel and with McDaniel, and like that's the direction that I would want to go. I just think it's just terrific, man. Like I love how heading into a season, um, like I'm pretty sure I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that both teams were 60-1 to win the Super Bowl. I'm pretty sure.
Pretty long,
Um,
pretty long odds, I think.
yeah. And so um, for me, it's just super impressive, and it's just hilarious how you know, and this is how it is for every sport, right? The preseason comes and you have all these predictions, and it's like, how could this thing not happen, right? How could the Chiefs not be in the playoffs? How could the Eagles not go deep into the playoffs? How could this? How could that? And next thing you know, Chiefs not in the playoffs, Ravens not in the playoffs. Bo Nix is beating Josh Allen right now. He's not in the playoffs. In the NFC, I think it was a lot more wide open. I think if there's a it probably went more chalk than the AFC did, obviously. But I just love that these are the two matchups, or like this is the matchup that we're getting. I just it's just something new, something fresh. And I think, I'm trying to, like, I'm hearing different narratives about how this isn't as surprising as you would think. And, we should have seen this coming. And it's like, no, man, no, no, we shouldn't have seen this coming. It's okay. It's okay that it caught us all off guard. It's okay. Like, we don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have to all just like, no one saw this coming. I'm sorry. Like, Drake May had a really good rookie year. For you to say that you saw it coming, that he was going to bring his team to a Super Bowl, that he was going to be the MVP of the league. No, I'm sorry. Like, all of this conversation of um this isn't as surprising as we think. We should have seen this. I was just saying, like,
Yeah.
I disagree with that. I think that it is absolutely as surprising as we think that these two teams are the teams. Now, to your point before about, excuse me, about the Seahawks, I can understand how you could talk yourself into them, you know, being here. However, um, I just don't agree with the narrative that we shouldn't be surprised that these two teams are in the Super Bowl, because I think that we all should be, and I think it's fine if we are.
Yeah, both teams. Yeah, I don't think anybody had both of these teams anywhere near it. Now, I won't say that, I had them 4 wins or 7 wins, or I had them mid. I thought they would take a jump, but yeah, both of them in a Super Bowl, even one of them making a Super Bowl is, well, yeah, that's pretty freaking awesome. Um, but I think you're less surprised with the Seahawks just because, second year quarterback in a brand new system, brand new offense, brand new coaching regime around him. Um, I think and with as loaded as the AFC is, how cutthroat it usually is with your Burrows, your Allens, your Lamar Jacksons, your Patrick Mahomes. A lot of things had to go right um for the Patriots, I think, this year to get where they are. But that's not to say that their team wasn't worthy of it, if that makes sense.
And I think it's just like if I was the Patriots, and this is just my personal opinion, I think for the Seahawks, there's I don't think that they peaked too early. I don't think that they arrived early. I
Mm,
think that we watched this team evolve as the season went on, and they became, what they are. And with Sam Darnold, yeah, you know what? Unfortunately for him, the conversation is always going to be, when is Sam Darnold going to go back to Sam Darnold? That's not going to go away. Even if he wins the Super Bowl, it's not going to go away. It's just not. And that's my opinion. I don't think it's going to go away. He's going to have to continue to prove himself. Um, but with the Patriots, excuse me, with the Patriots, I think they did get here a little bit ahead of schedule. I think, like you said, with the Joe Burrow, with you know Lamar Jackson, Patty Mahomes, with those guys not being around, with Josh Allen. Now they were a really good matchup for the Bills. I'm not saying that the Bills would have won if they faced the Pats in the championship, but you get to face a like banged up Broncos team instead of a healthy Broncos team, and B, Josh Allen. Yeah, things went their way. However, this is not a team that's just going to all of a sudden uh fall back to a 4-win team. Like, this team
yeah,
is on the rise. It's very Brady-esque of the early days,
yeah.
where they get there and he wins, and this could be really the beginning of something beautiful. So, all
Yeah.
right, before we get to our picks for the game, let's hit up some props, man. What are you looking at? 'Tis the season of the prop. I haven't got as horned up as I usually do. Typically, I go all in, all out, and I didn't get overly carried away this season, but I have a few that I really like. Where are you at when it comes to props?
Four really kind of stood out to me. Um First quarter total. First quarter total is something that's been making the rounds and that I've seen on TV. And for me, it makes so much sense. It feels like I've always, like, the last several Super Bowls, I've always seen it kind of start off super super slow. And this 6.5 at plus 165 for me, the under. I can completely see a first quarter where only two field goals. I could see a 3-3 first quarter, to me, with
Love
these
it.
defenses, with
Love it.
them kind of like feeling each other out process until like the second half, where it really starts to cook. They take what they learned in the first half and apply it in the second half. But that first quarter total of 6.5, the under for 165 for me is definitely something I'm looking at.
Love it. I would say, yeah, the total in general, I always get weirded out by totals when it comes to the Super Bowl. This is one that I do feel stronger than I do most. Like last year's, I can't remember. I feel like last year's total was like 52 and a half or something like that with the Chiefs Eagles. I can't remember exactly. That felt um I always thought that that was probably going to go over. Um but um but yeah, this does feel like one where if the Pats win or even cover, it really does feel like it has to go under. I had a few. Uh Number one, just straight up touchdowns. So I love a good sprinkle on all of the running backs. And by all, I mean Kenneth Walker, and Stevenson and Henderson, um,
Okay.
for the Pats. Minus 195 for Walker, not a whole ton of value there. But if I'm speaking first, is what I am specifically talking about. And I obviously not everyone can score a first touchdown. I understand that. But I'm just saying the odds for all of them. So for Kenneth Walker to get the first touchdown, plus 360. For Stevenson is plus 750. And Henderson, all of Henderson's props, and I'm curious what you think about this.
Oh.
All of his props have a ton of value because his usage is just so unpredictable. And in the Super Bowl, you want to look at the players that are unsung, right? You want to look at the players that you might not expect to get a touchdown or a bunch of receiving yards or to be leaned on. And maybe not even be leaned on, just one big play. The difference here is that Henderson doesn't get leaned on a lot, but when he does, he gets leaned on all game. And I'm very curious to see, because he doesn't or hasn't been used all that much recently, do they bust out the playbook for him this week? I think it would be a mistake not to, personally. I understand what they're doing with Stevenson. But for Henderson, so for him to get a touchdown is plus 470, which is crazy enough on its own. Just a touchdown. Plus 2,500 to get the first TD. And I know all of his odds, I look at his odds and I just don't understand them.
What if he gets the kickoff first? What if he gets the kickoff first?
Right.
And he's gone. 2,500, bro. That's amazing.
Dude.
Right off rip.
I'm just saying, and like, just for him to get a touchdown is plus 470, which seems crazy enough to me on its own.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Henderson in a minute here, but some fun game specials. These are over at FanDuel. Each team to score 1+ rushing TD, 1+ passing TD in each half. So 1 rushing TD, 1 passing TD from both teams in each half is plus 12,500.
That sounds like a FanDuel bet. Sounds like a FanDuel bet if I ever heard it.
I know. And I'm sucked right into it, man. I'm sucked right into it. 1+ rushing and passing from each team in each half. Yeah. That one is one that I'm getting suckered into for sure. There was another one.
This is why I love FanDuel, because FanDuel always has those ones where it's like these two guys run for 25 yards in each quarter of the game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I love them, bro.
It's crazy the amount of stuff they have here, man. And what's funny is I was listening to a podcast that was recorded over the weekend, and they were saying how FanDuel in the US didn't have a lot of these props until last weekend. Where Canada, we had them all like the minute the Super Bowl like was
Mm,
announced. Like
got
the minute that the Seahawks Rams game was over, we had all of these things,
boop.
which
You're
just
welcome.
shows you how degenerate we are up here. Um, where was the one? This is one that you're is right what you were saying, but I actually kind of like it. It's just plus 100, and you can make like a little like ladder if you wanted to. But Drake May, Sam Donald to each record 15 plus passing yards in each quarter, just 15 yards each in each quarter is plus 100. I think that's pretty good value. If you wanted to bump that up to 30 plus passing yards in each quarter, it is plus 500, which I find interesting. And then to what you were saying about how you wouldn't be surprised if the first quarter was 3-3.
Mhm.
I was surprised how short these odds were. Any quarter to end scoreless. So just one quarter to have 0 points is plus 260, which feels like it should be longer than that. But just based on the two teams, specifically Seattle, but the fact that it was plus 260 kind of caught my attention because it's like I thought that it would have like better value just because you think it's not that likely, but the fact that it's in the plus 200s kind of caught my attention a little bit.
Yeah, that is actually very interesting, and I guess I mean, to that point though, like I guess it's been a while since we had like one of those Super Bowls that was just that deficient offensively. Like I think the worst offensive performance like in the last 10 years, um I could point to two Super Bowls that I can remember off the top of my head. Um the uh the Bengals Super Bowl, um no, not the Bengals Super Bowl, the Bucks Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Um One of the few that Mahomes has lost. I think they only scored 9 points in that game.
Yep. Yep.
And then the Patriots against the Rams, the Jared Goff Rams. That
Oh
was
my
13 to
gosh.
3. And everybody was
The
struggling to watch that
the
Super Bowl.
worst Super Bowl I've ever seen.
So it's not often that you have like whole quarters where no team scores. So I can see that's kind of wild that that's not like a thing. A higher odds, I think.
That Super Bowl, man, that Rams Patriots Super Bowl, um
That was
that was
that
so
was a tough
awful.
watch. That
That
was
was
a tough
awful.
watch.
And I just remember like for a long time, I would host Super Bowl parties. And then when my wife and I started dating, the two of us would host these Super Bowl parties. And I remember just having people over, and you know how Super Bowl parties go, right? You got, and this isn't, listen, I know it's 2026, we got to be progressive, but I'm just saying what it is. Typically, the dudes are watching the game and the women are talking about whatever, right? That's just how it goes. And then the halftime starts and all the women come in from wherever they are and they watch the halftime show and whatever. That was one of those games where it just turned into everybody just talking. Cause it's like, what are we even watching here?
What
Like,
are
there's
we
not even
watching?
anything, there's nothing going on here for us to even watch. Like, that was awful, awful football game. Um, all right. I talked about it before. The tight ends for the Patriots. I'm very curious that matchup. We talked about that before. Now, Hunter Henry, you have to go up a little bit to get some value. 40 plus yards receiving is minus 112. Austin Hooper, I'm curious about him. I was saying how you're looking for a guy that's kind of off the map. He's a good tight end. Um, for him to get 10 plus receiving yards is minus 114. For him to get 10 plus, 15 plus plus 142, 20 plus plus 205, and it goes up from there. 5 plus is minus 200, but that 10 plus for him to get like minus 114, 10 plus yards, I that seems like a slam dunk to me. Um uh Personally. The other one, now there was a point in the season where my guy Trevion Henderson was a like clutch when it came to the receiving props. Like he was good for a 10-yard, 15-yard, 20-yard catch every game. And it's just kind of got away from that. For Henderson to get 5 plus receiving yards is plus 106. And I'm just saying it's going to be
What?
impossible for me to not bet that. Like that's what I'm saying about this guy, man. Like I just don't understand. I just don't understand, man. And listen, these books, they're not fools, okay? They're richer than we are for a reason. I'm just saying
They know something we don't.
like the usage of this guy is unpredictable.
No, it's valid.
And the fact that his props are hitting plus money like this, 5 plus yards plus 106?
Yeah.
Dude. Like 10 plus yards is plus 220. So for him to double his yardage is more than double the odds. It's very fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, so it's really basically how you think Vrabel's gonna want the usage to go to. Like, is he gonna lean on veterans? Is he gonna lead on people that have more games played, who have been in tighter matchups before previously? But I'm a person that leans towards two things. Um, this is the game where you pull out stuff that you maybe have never run all season in game. Um, you could talk about the Philly. You could talk about, the things that KC does in the Super Bowl that they maybe ran a variation of in season, but like they changed the look in the Super Bowl. Like this is where you empty the playbook as far as what you're going to do to try to manufacture points, especially against a team that's so defensively sharp. Both sides are going to be facing a stout defense. So it's like this is you've had 2 weeks to basically empty out the playbook and be like, hey, we've been running this in practice for 12 minutes every week this season. Haven't used it yet. This is the week. This is the week we're calling it. We're calling it this week. So I could see scenarios where, maybe Henderson takes a direct snap and is running a wildcat or something, or like this is the game where you do stuff like this to try to manufacture a play. But like 5 yards plus money is crazy to me. And one of the things I was looking at was his over in rushing yards, because 19 and a half in a Super Bowl where you want to get the best players on your team the ball, 19 and a half is minus 115. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. And just one more of my props that I was looking into just towards your tight end talk. I think the tight end on the other side, in AJ Barner, is someone that's not going to be looked at too much. When you've got Rashid Shaheed out there and Cooper Kupp and JSN on the outside, that might be a guy that could sneaky get a couple of catches and hit his over of 24 and a half receiving yards. I mean, I think he's in a prime position where the Patriots defense are going to want to make sure that their pass catchers are on lockdown. I think Barner could sneak in and get at least 25, 30, maybe even 35 yards in this game, for the fact that, you know, all the attention's going to be on those three wideouts.
100%. A couple, yeah, Cooper Kupp is one that I find interesting. I know he had some big moments the other day. He's not the go-to guy anymore. 30 plus yards for him is minus 136, which I find very interesting. Even like Shaheed, man, like he's not used a ton in the passing game either, even for as good as he is. 25 plus for him is plus 110. Like there's just some of these like low receiving totals with those like plus odds that it's going to be difficult to stay away from. The one rushing total, you already mentioned Henderson's rushing total. The one that I find interesting, even like Stevenson 50 plus is minus 114. Drake May. I am curious about this because it's hard to know based on the fact that we don't really know what's going on with that guy's arm. We don't really know the status of his arm. And if it's a, detriment to him, he's going to have to use his legs. And I think that, he can do it against this defense. Obviously, this defense will be ready for it, but I think he can cut to the outside. I think he can get some yards on them. What I'm curious about here, fascinated by, again, excuse me, 40 plus rushing yards for Drake May is plus 100. For 40 plus yards, plus 100. 30 plus yards is all the way to minus 220. So that 10-yard difference is almost double the value, which I find very interesting.
That would be very interesting to see. I strongly believe that they're going to be in a bunch of 2 tight end sets. And you may see, some bootlegs to either side. I think what Josh McDaniels is going to want to do is he's going to want to change, kind of like change the eye level of the defense. So he may have some bootlegs to the left. He may have some bootlegs to the right. Try to get him outside the pocket, trying to get the line moving. Just because he knows that left side, with Will Campbell and Jared Wilson, is going to be kind of like a focal point on their ends. Like he knows that McDonald is going to zero in on these 2 guys and be like, hey, listen, this is the weakness of their line. This is the matchup we need to take advantage of. So that's why I think you're going to see Hooper and Henry out there, and the fullback out there, just to kind of like get a little extra protection for Drake May, so that he doesn't get even more hurt, if that's possible. But I could definitely see that being as an option, especially if they get into a position where they're playing from behind. They may want to line up and cover man to man at one point, and then maybe they don't have a spy on May and he gets off like 9-yard chunks here and there. It'd be very easy to get the 40 if you're ripping off 9 yards here, 6 yards here, because of man to man defense on the back end.
All right, before we get to our picks, I wanted to throw out just one last FanDuel special list here for you, all right?
Sweet.
The last time these 2 teams played in the Super Bowl, and we've all heard all the memories by now. The interception at the 1-yard line, and everyone not understanding why didn't you give Marshawn the ball.
Do you know how many times Mike McDonald's been asked that during press
Oh
week?
yeah. So
He's over it.
so FanDuel has an entire section dedicated to repeat specials for the same things to happen in this game on Sunday than it happened however long ago that was, 11 years ago or whatever it was, back in Super Bowl, again, whatever Super Bowl that was. Seattle to throw a pick from the opponent's 1 yard line, plus 10,000. Both teams to record a pick, plus 180, which I think is actually somewhat reasonable. Any running back to record 100 plus rush yards and 1 plus rush TD, plus 250. New England to record under 59.5 total rush yards, plus 350. Interception thrown in the opposing team's end zone, plus 500. Another Seattle to attempt to pass at opponent's 1 yard line, plus 500. This one opens up a different conversation. Both teams to record an 80 plus yard TD drive. Both teams to record an 80 plus yard TD drive. Did you know that Seattle has allowed only 4 85 plus yard TD drives all season, and 3 of them were against the Rams?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Insane.
I would buy that. Yeah.
Insane. 7 individual players to score a touchdown, plus 600. Seattle to have 3 plus players record 20 plus rush yards, plus 650, which isn't actually the craziest thing because they only have one real running back right now.
Yeah,
so why not go to Shaheed?
Why? Well,
you know, why not do some weird stuff there, man?
Does it say specifically running back, or does it anyone that runs for
Seattle to have 3 plus players?
If I'm a book, I'm making sure that distinction is
No, it's 3 plus players to record 20 plus rushing yards.
Yeah,
that doesn't seem that out of the question. Again, going back to interception thrown with under 1 minute to go in the fourth quarter, of course, plus 650. Any running back to record most receptions in the game, plus 800. Final Seattle drive to end in a pick, plus 950.
That's crazy.
I know. Oh, here you go. This is up your alley. First quarter correct score 0-0 and second quarter correct score 14-14, plus 12,500. So there's some fun props to look back at memory lane. All right, let's wrap it up and move on to our picks. Once again, brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off any card in the First Round Collectibles store, and an additional 10% off the 25% wrestling sale that they have ongoing right now. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off any card and an additional 10% off the 25% wrestling sale. Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Always a big shout out to them for having us on board. All right, Joe. Moment of truth. Who you taking? You can, you can go to the total if you want to, but you know how we do it here. Who do you got in Super Bowl 60?
All right. Well, I had the Patriots Rams being in this game, but we have the Patriots and the Seahawks. And because we have the Patriots and the Seahawks, that has changed my pick. I'm going with the Seahawks minus the 4.5.
You are.
I just think you have a very, very confident quarterback who is ready to get this proverbial monkey off his back. And I think I can think of no better way than for him to do it in a place where he actually reclaimed some sense of knowing what he was doing again. It was his season with it was his season with the 49ers that propelled him to really starting to feel like he could do this again. There was a lot of lack of confidence coming off of the season with the Panthers, coming off of his stint with the Jets. He latches on with the Shanahans in San Francisco, and he started feeling like a quarterback again, like a really good quarterback again. And then he parlays that into a season with Minnesota in which he goes 14-3, had some bad games leading down the stretch. He wins some big games this season, goes 14-3 again. They're playing their best football of the season at the right time of the season. And I feel that their vibes are strongly in the side of the Seahawks. Give me the Seahawks minus the 4.5. And let's put a bow on what's been a very colorful career for Sam Darnold and this season. He deserves it, man. I love going into a game where I have something so blatantly easy to root for, because anyone who's ever been any kind of struggle in their life will love to see a guy like Sam Darnold bounce back, win the big one, and tell everyone to stick it.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people hate the Patriots, and I understand it. A lot of people hate the fact that they're already back here 5 years after their divorce with Tom Brady, and just 2 short years after their divorce with Bill Belichick.
They haven't suffered
I
enough,
understand
what
it.
they say.
Yeah. I don't have that same disdain.
Me
I
either. You
personally
beat them. We beat them. So we
Yeah.
don't have that.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. We don't have to feel that way, because
No.
when we got there, we beat them.
Yeah, we beat them. It's no big deal. And like, you know what, man? Like, I like to see greatness. I like to see a team that's why everyone was so mad at me last year when the Panthers and the Oilers were in the Stanley Cup final for the second straight year. And I picked the Panthers to win. And I had so many people get so pissed at me. And I'm like, listen, man, listen, Connor McDavid's from my hometown. Would I like to see him win in the cup, come to my town?
Yeah.
Of course. Do I want, sure. But like, I'm not gonna pick them just because they're from Canada, man. Like, I want the Leafs to win. Like, what am I? I want to see greatness. I want to see a team just dominate a league. I personally like that. So for me, this Super Bowl is great storylines either way. I think, like you said, man, Sam Darnold coming in and winning the Super Bowl would just be so poetic. It would be so beautiful. For Mike Vrabel, you said it, man. The way he was let go from Tennessee, amongst a plethora of other decisions that awful franchise made, and just to see that team go from 4 wins to winning the Super Bowl. Drake May, like, to me, just an easy kid to root for, man. Like, he's like his wife he met in the 7th grade, and she's making cookies for JetBlue and all the fans flying, and it's just, I don't know, man, I just love it. So either way, to me, I am going Patriots plus 4.5. I really have come to respect what that coaching staff is doing. I really think they're going to find a way to keep this game close. I think as much as we don't know what Drake May can do with his arm, they do, and they are game planning accordingly. I also think that this just has vibes of The Greatest Show, right? Like, this just has vibes of the Rams are superior, and there's no way this Patriots team can beat them.
Yeah.
And they find a way to squeak it out. That's just how this feels to me. And as much as I agree with the easiness of schedule and I agree with all that stuff, I just think that we're quickly forgetting how good this Patriots team was this season. And I think it's going to be plus 4.5. Now, when it comes to the money line, if you vibe with this kind of thing, then this is for you. All right. And if you don't, then just take the spread one way or the other and go from there. I heard today, I don't know if this is true. I did not do my own personal research.
Okay.
I heard it on a podcast, and we all know what you hear on a podcast is 100% fact. So that Super Bowl winners are 57-2 against the spread. Super Bowl winners are 57-2 against the spread. That's what I heard today. And if that is true, and I'm taking New England plus 4.5, I might have to throw a sprinkle on that plus 196 and just see what happens.
Mm,
Do you have it there?
that's gonna be interesting.
Does
The
it say?
Google says different. The Google
Does it?
says different.
What does Google say?
Through 50. Well, hold on. This should be 59. All right, so it says 57-2 ATS teams to win the
Okay.
Super Bowl. 57. No, 50. Oh, okay. Hold on. All right. So in my brain, I thought 57 and then 2. But the stat is 50 wins,
Yes.
7, and then
Yes.
two pushes. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Then
So
you're accurate.
if you win the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
57 Super Bowl winners cover the spread is basically what that is. What's that saying? So I find that interesting, but who knows? Who knows? Everybody, thank you so much as always for hanging out with us. We appreciate it so much. Joe, you got anything else? Any last minute things you want to throw out there? It's the last game of the year, man. I can't believe it.
Let's have fun. Let's enjoy a really good game. Either winner, I have got no dog in the fight, but either winner, I'm okay with. They both had great seasons. I got 2 pizzas in the freezer ready to go for this weekend.
Ooh.
So I'm locked in. I'm about as locked in as you can get. I've got all the snacks in the world in the cupboards too. We may have a little charcuterie spread going on, ready for the
Ooh.
game. So we're ready to do it up here in this house. And yeah, man, I'm just ready to lock in. I just want a good game. That's all I ask.
I don't mind a good charcuterie board, bro. That's like my wife and I, when the kids go to bed, that's our like thing is busting out the dried salami with some
Little cheese.
brie and crackers, and
Yeah.
I'm all here for it, man. Well,
Yes, sir.
listen, to everybody who has hung out with us all year, we appreciate it so much. Whether here on Total Apex Media, we do appreciate it. I apologize for my awful start to this podcast, getting my sick brain around what in the world I'm actually doing here. But thank you guys so much. We will be back next week. We'll break down the Super Bowl, and we'll get to all of the coaching news and everything that's been going on in the last few weeks that we haven't touched on. We will touch on it next week with, of course, breaking down the Super Bowl and then the schedule after that. We'll let you guys know what we're getting up to over the off season. With football season ending, baseball content will be ramping up. Hockey content will be ramping up. We'll do a full preview of the Olympics next week, which I'm really excited for. Been a long time since we've seen best on best at the Olympics, so looking forward to that. So lots of stuff going on here at the S.O.S Podcast Network. Just stay tuned for whatever's next, and we will I'll be back next week to wrap up what's been a wonderful season in the NFL. Once again, first round collectibles, promo code SPORTS10, 10% off your order, including 10% off of the 25% wrestling sale. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10. Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next time.